Say, why does this happen to me?
Why did this happen to me?
It is Father's Day, and walking in the forest is the gift that I took. It's different than the gifts that I got. This new video, we're going to talk about why things happen to us. We go to the left.
Yeah?
Yeah. So we go talk about karma, about yuanfen, we talk about accidents, we talk about fate and about bonuses and stuff like this. A lot of things. When we discuss the reasons why things happen to us, we follow normally the theory of cause and effect. Cause and effect means something happens, and as a result something else happens. That means that through the theory and through the ideas of interdependent origination, namely the relatedness between all the events, the combination of particular kind of events can cause something to happen. So when we say, why did this happen to us, then there must be a cause. If there's no cause, that would be really weird, right? So let's discuss all the different kind of causes and their effects. Normally we assume that cause and effect follow each other. There is first a cause and then there's an effect. But the timeline of cause and effect can be very different. For instance, it seems very natural and logic to us that there will first be a cause, something's happening, and then a reaction will follow. On the other hand, it might also be that there is a future necessity through which things can happen. The investigation of the future and the past, in that sense, are very important to figure out what is the cause and effect of events. We normally assume that the cause is in the past and that the effect is in the future or in the present. And that means that things that are happening to us now, they are caused in the future. Hi, if you enjoy my videos, maybe it's a nice idea to participate in classes and workshops. I have online trainings every week, but also every now and then I go to Portugal, and I'm starting a cycle also in Romania, and also of course to places where you would like to invite me. If you feel like organizing something, or if you like to participate or become a member, or learn Chinese medicine or Kung Fu, in all these cases you are welcome in our Daoland program. You're also welcome, of course, if you only want to just see things and participate in regular classes. Everybody is their own king. We normally assume that the cause is in the past and that the effect is in the future or in the present. And that means that things that are happening to us now, they are caused in the future. The idea of the reversal of cause and effect, in the sense that the cause is in the future, a future historical need for something to happen, means that basically you have a calling, and that is why particular things happen to you. So when you have a calling, like for instance when you are a prophet of a divine being or something like this, and at that moment the nature of things is that you have to go through certain kind of experiences to become a certain kind of person, or to perform a certain kind of act. That performance of this act, or this becoming a certain kind of person, in that sense is meaningful. If it is a good thing or a bad thing, that is always something that is to be discussed afterwards, when you see that the events happened. Then when we talk about cause and effect, of course we have to understand if things are determined, predetermined, or if they are non-determined. And that is usually a very difficult thing, because looking backwards it seems like some choices that you make in your life, they cannot be made because of theories of relativism. It seems like you had to make this choice. Because of that you feel like things are fated. There is a particular kind of destiny that you just run off. Christianity and other religions, they are very good in thinking of terms of determinism, in the sense that God or gods preordained the future. When God's preordained the future, that means that your life is just like a clock. It is working and it is ticking, and certain kind of things are going to happen to you because it is preordained. It could also be that society is ordering people in such a way that you have to behave in a particular kind of way, like what you now see in China happening with the scrutiny of people and their behavior in a sort of social credit system. So then that means there is external pressures on you to behave in a particular kind of way. In the same way in Asia there was a sort of ritualization taking place in society which was ordered by the emperor on the basis of Confucian theory that you should always be watchful of what people will think of you because people are scrutinizing you all the time. In the West we didn't have the similar kind of ideas, but also we have our own form of authoritarianism, like for instance with fascism that tries to control the masses through the rich and the wealthy. That is requiring a big difference between the poor and the rich, namely that the rich are more rich and that the poor are more poor. As a result of that, the poor are being driven into a herd mentality and can therefore be better controlled. Media, of course, in modern time play a big role in these kind of things. And that's one of the main reasons why, for instance, in socialist theories, there is the idea that people should be equalized, the rich and the poor should be more equal, so that people have more free choice of destiny in their life, that they create their own destinies. Predetermination also plays a big role in modern science. Sciences like genetics and also physics, they usually assume that there is sort of a clockwork mechanism that causes particular kind of things to happen. So even evolution theory, even though it should be called a diversification theory, it assumes that there is always an improvement through evolution, but that is not exactly right. Through influences from the environment, things change. Also, because of choices, things change. Animals who choose to eat something else than before cause a particular kind of change. Look at the panda, which is now a vegetarian. It eats a particular kind of bamboo because it emulates meat eating, and at a certain point it changed meat eating for bamboo eating. It doesn't mean that it cannot digest meat anymore. It can still digest meat, and it can only digest bamboo because of the particular kind of proteins that are in there that they need for their digestion. They cannot eat salad, very easy. So they're not true vegetarians in that sense. And in that sense, it is a choice to eat bamboo. If it is a conscious choice or a subconscious choice, we can't know about that too. So that is just a matter of letting these things slide as a solution. But in general, science considers all these kind of things predetermined because there is a particular kind of mechanism at work. And the mechanism, just like people nowadays do with Chinese medicine theory, in the way how they use yin yang and wu xing, the mechanism then predetermines the outcome. And it also takes away freedom, so that also takes away the possibility for change to take another course. We have to discuss that when we discuss about the I Ching. Because in the I Ching it says there's two possibilities for change. One is a slight nudging through which gradual change comes about, or one is radicalizing things through which they break down and everything crashes down and you have to start up again. In the context of this story, I like to talk about predetermination because of the way how nature functions. As far as I'm concerned, animals, plants, they are thinking creatures, and they're looking for a way through life to survive and to create offspring and so forth and so forth. The predetermination is in the fact that when beings are being born, there is a certain ending of that life going to take place in the future, and that certain ending has as a result that there should be a form of procreation. This procreation is partly voluntarily because creatures want it, but it is predestined that they should. On the other hand, there is sometimes no possibility to procreate because of all kind of circumstances that are playing a role, and as a result of that, species die out, or individuals from that species die out. When we walk through a forest, like in this video, or when we look anywhere in nature, you see that predetermination seems to take place all the time, as if nature just runs off a pattern. Western thinkers like Descartes they thought that nature is more like a machine, like a clock or like a computer program, as nowadays people tend to think, in the sense that they have no real freedom to change and to alter. But in fact, a tree is just as able to predestine its future as you or me are.
Do you feel lucky, punk?
In some cases you could call fate a belief in predestination, but fate can also be trusting in your luck. So at the moment when it is trusting in your luck, basically you're a gambler, and a lot of people are in many ways gamblers. So you have to ask yourself, do I have faith in the sense of predestination, or do I believe in gambling? At the moment when you don't believe in predestination, of course you believe in free choice. And that means that you have an understanding, or that you think you have an understanding, through which you can make choices and then come at a particular kind of outcome. In reality, of course, you see that life is pretty much asymmetrical, so that whatever you plan, the outcome of your plans usually is different from what you expect from it. So free choice in that sense maybe is there, but the outcome remains very relative. And that is because there are so many factors in free choice that play a role in achieving things. Predestination then requires a faith that an outcome is predestined and that whatever happens is actually okay, even though maybe you don't appreciate it like that. At the moment when you're gambling, you actually believe in free choice, except that you don't believe that you can achieve something, so you're gambling on your luck. And that is also a form of predestination sense, in the meaning that you believe that you're predestined to be lucky.
Do you feel lucky, punk?
In Chinese spiritual culture, there's a whole slew of other concepts that are relevant in the context of this story. For instance, one very famous one is the concept of karma. Karma, of course, is nowadays almost a common word in the Western languages. We use it sometimes to explain the causality and the effects of certain kind of events in our life as being predestined or being pre-programmed, in the sense that we more and more understand that we are running some kind of a program, it seems. But in fact, in the Chinese concept of karma, the Chinese idea of karma is represented in the words Guo Bao Yin, and these characters, they basically mean because of the fruit of retribution. Bao Yin, the word for retribution, basically also means newspaper and shoot in the same time, and you could say that it actually means karma because fruit should be in the news. Karma then means that things that have a result, they should actually become known to you. So you should understand why these fruits are caused by something in the past. And then you have different categories. Like for instance, karma as a result of things that you did, or things that are happening in your family, or in your city, or in your country, or in the history in the past. That means the effects of, for instance, the birth of Christ, or the birth of Lao Tzu, or the birth of Gautama the Buddha. In all these cases, these people produced karma, and we bear the fruits of that. And by studying their teachings, by studying their life, we actually come to understand how that karma works out in our life. That is basically karma. So karma is also the study of history. Studying karma is the study of history, and why some things happen like this and some things happen like that. And in some cases, karma can be predestined by things that should happen in the future because of karma from the past. For instance, a country that has been a dictatorship for a long time, at a certain point wants to go to a cycle of change through which freedom is being produced and people can have a say in their future, in their destinies, so that they have an exercise of free choice, which is of course in a dictatorship not really possible, only to a particular kind of degree. And we know countries like that, like North Korea, Azerbaijan, and also countries like China and Russia, and even in modern European countries and America, where you're not completely free because you have to be careful in what you say and what you do because of the marketability of what you're saying and doing. Within the Chinese language, there's also another word which is very relevant in conversation. And when you meet people, they can sometimes say, "Oh, it's really yuanfen, why we meet." And yuanfen is a sort of fated coincidence, like a bonus to your life. And that means that the potential of what you come across when you meet somebody like that is huge, and this potential has to be lived out. In fact, yuanfen means minute reasons. Yuan is a reason, and fun is minute. So at the moment when you talk about yuanfen, it means that something small can become something very big. And this is basically the same principle that we find in the I Ching that we talked about earlier. When you nudge a situation to a particular kind of direction, the changes can be significant and can become larger and larger and larger, much like a snowball falling off a mountain becoming an avalanche. So when you meet somebody and you have yuanfen with that person, you recognize like, wow, we have a future together. I remember when I see my teachers, or when I meet my sister in the monastery, or even when I meet my wife, I can see like, okay, this is yuanfen. So it means the situation has a huge potential. It just depends on how we deal with it, if we can bring that yuanfen out. In Chinese medicine, we talk about yuan qi. Yuan qi, although it has a different kind of origin, a similar kind of thing is implied. That means that our potential is activated in the past. The interesting thing about Chinese language is that yuan and yuan, they sound the same. And at the moment when they sound the same, they have associated meaning. So yuan first and yuan reason, in that sense, are related to each other. From the principle of yuan first, and of reason, also we have the concept of a li, which is principle. At the moment when you talk about principles, then at that moment, of course, you very quickly come towards Tao, which is the patterning of things. Well, then in that case, after that, where does it leave us with free will? Let's put a question about free will for a side dish for a moment, and let's get a look at how it works in Kung Fu and in Chinese medicine. Because at the moment when you're fighting, you have to make choices, but what you try to learn in fighting is to build in all kind of responses, so that when somebody attacks in method A, then you reply in method B, so that you have an answer for that effect. At the moment when you go look at medicine, you see that because of a weakness coming about, a particular kind of result is coming up into your body, which can lead to aging and eventually to death through disease. In the Huangdi Jing, it says in the first chapter, well, we only become sick because of moral issues, and the moral issue primarily is forgetting, and the forgetting is to try to keep ourselves together. At the moment when you study Neidan and Dan Dao, and you study what nowadays is called Qigong and Tai Chi Chuan, Daoist training, what you try to do is you try to understand the coherence of your life and your body and your mind and so on and so forth, and then from there you try to build up until you're back to being an immortal as you're supposed to be from your birth onwards. Of course, it's not an easy thing, and because we have busy lives, we see sometimes, at least I noticed for myself a few times in my training, like, oh, I should actually train like this and this and this, and then I can prevent that this becomes a problem which causes aging or causes disease later. But because you're being busy, you move it forward, you think, okay, do it next week or do the week after, and then you forget. And that is what the Huangdi Jing points out. So it is also pre-programmed that everything that is not in the foreground of our mind immediately is forgotten. And as a result of that, we also give up a little bit of free choice. So at the moment when you recognize things, you have a free choice. At the moment when you don't recognize, you don't have a free choice. That means that you can have a free choice, for instance, to destroy your body by taking drugs or by torturing yourself, or taking tattoos in places that contain acupuncture points or that are influential on your internal organs, that you can do that, but at that moment you basically also build up a pattern, a habit, or a cause for later effects. That's also one of the reasons why people do rituals. Because of the ritual, they ingrain themselves in a particular kind of understanding, and they build it up so that they can gradually think from that perspective of that understanding, like in tantric practices. It's all very interesting, this free choice thing. Free choice thing is momentarily, it seems, and I'm not exactly sure, but free choice may be not a permanent thing. But what I do know is that all of nature has free choices. It's just that the amount of free choices, or the things we have free choices about, is very limited. When we look at our neural wiring, we can see that we train our body to do particular kind of things. So we build in habitual use, and this habitual use makes sure that we can preserve ourselves or that we can destroy ourselves. It's through what we eat, it's through how we eat, it is through what we sleep on and how much we sleep. It is through the fact that we do meditate or do not meditate, and so forth and so forth. So there's a lot of different kind of factors that affect the principles of free choice. My exercise for you now is to write down for yourself, in the last year, how many times did you apply free choice to your life? Did you actually apply free choice to your life? Or were you just running on automatic pilot? Automatic pilot usually is the reason why we get into conflict with all kind of people, because we find in hindsight like, oh, I shouldn't have said that, or oh, I shouldn't have done that. But we said and done these things because at that moment we thought it was natural to say so. And natural in that sense might actually imply no free choice, because it was automated. And there's two more things that we actually need to mention. For instance, we are not alone in this world. So, as a fact, we can state that we have no control over what other people think, and what they do, and how they affect us. Usually they are not very much aware of us. They're usually living their own reality, and as a result that they do things that affect us. And that can be positive to us, it can also be negative to us. And the second one is,
Well, things just happen. Do you feel lucky, punk? Well, things just happen.